everybody. Today we are talking about Jupiter retrograde in Pisces. This is from 28th of July to 23rd of November. Jupiter retrograde is not as challenging as Saturn's retrograde. However, the day it turns retrograde, goes direct, it can be complicated. And let us explore how to deal with it. Hello, I'm Komilla Sutton, and we are talking Jupiter retrograde in Pisces. Do remember to subscribe, press the bell notification. So Jupiter retrograde from 28th of July to 23rd of November 2022. It retrogrades in Pisces, and Jupiter will turn retrograde at 14 degrees of Pisces and retrograde back all the way to 4 degrees of Pisces. So this retrograde remains in Pisces. Jupiter is dignified in Pisces, own sign, it is strong there. However, when you're watching Jupiter retrograde, firstly, it is not as intense or complicated like Saturn turning retrograde, because Jupiter is a benefic planet, and therefore its retrograde means it becomes stronger and stronger, more positive. And especially if you have planets placed at 14 degrees of Pisces or at 4 degrees of Pisces, that means Jupiter will be stationary on those degrees. So there can be a super high charged opportunity that can come to you, your ascendant, moon, other planets on those degrees. And then between 4 degrees to 14 degrees of Pisces, it means that Jupiter is going to transit over those degrees 3 times. So once it has already done, then it will retrograde over that time, and then it will go forward after November 2022. So you get a triple blessing of Jupiter. So that so far so good. You know, I would say that over the years when I've watched Jupiter turning retrograde, the main thing that I have been conscious of is the day Jupiter turns retrograde and the day it goes direct. You don't want to get stuck in the retrograde. You know, it's usually not a good idea to travel, or if you have an appointment or something like that, that Jupiter can create some obstacle. I remember a friend of mine got stuck in Jupiter retrograde, and up to that time, I hadn't given such great importance to the day Jupiter turns retrograde, because Jupiter is a benefic turning retrograde. It didn't have any kind of history behind it. But, you know, she got stuck. And then, you know, the flight got delayed, there was all sorts of problems, and then it took a long time for them to reach India, and then they were not well there. So after that, I have been paying great attention to Jupiter retrograde and going direct. So that is the time. So it is turning retrograde on 28th of July. So you could say 27th, 28th, by 29th it has turned retrograde. So, you know, if you get stuck in that situation, it can be bothersome. It's not that you can't cope with it, it's just a bothersome energy. And the same thing in November, when Jupiter is about to go direct on 23rd of November, 22nd, 23rd, 24th. Avoid traveling. If you have an appointment or you have some work to do, then double check. Usually on the day of the Jupiter turning retrograde or the day it's going direct, we don't plan any auspicious good events at that time because we don't want the energy to get disturbed. Also this year, this Jupiter turning retrograde on 28th of July, then Mercury goes through Gandanta 31st July, Mars Rahu conjunction 1st of August. So there's some other planetary disturbances alongside with the Jupiter turning retrograde. So that is a difficult aspect to consider. Now for Jupiter going retrograde, if you do have a planet at 14 degrees planet or ascendant at 14 degrees or nearby, then Jupiter has been slowly stopping and being at that 14 degrees for quite some time. But this is a pleasurable aspect of Jupiter. He's on your ascendant, any planet. He's giving his blessings. And similarly, in November, where Jupiter goes direct at 4 degrees of Pisces, both those aspects are very powerful and strong. And then the thing is this, that Jupiter during this retrograde is not making any conjunction except for the moon, which it does every month, but no conjunction, no negative aspect that is taking place. Usually Jupiter turns retrograde opposite to the sun. It's not exactly opposite at this time, but that is the thing, that when it goes the other side of the sun, then Jupiter is going to turn retrograde. And so from that point of view, it is very good that there is no other aspect that is taking place. So Jupiter is doing its job, what it does every year. It retrogrades for 4 months or so. So that is just his job, and our job is to watch those 2 retrogrades. Even if you have, say, your ascendant at 14 degrees Pisces and it is pleasurable, good time and good opportunities coming for you, but that day itself as Jupiter's turning retrograde is not the best day. And if you're Sagittarius Pisces, of course it will affect you more. So you want to know how it affects you. I actually did video on Jupiter and Pisces, and I'm putting a link right up here that you can see how it affects you. Between the 2 retrogrades, once Jupiter has done retrograde, we don't feel it. We don't even know that it's retrograde or something. I think when it is going to retrograde, you'll think, oh, everything slowed down a bit. Because that's what the retrogrades, and especially these slower moving planets, when they retrograde, they tend to slow things down. And same thing around 23rd of November, when Jupiter is going to go direct, it slows down. And then when it goes direct, it's like an energy release. So you feel very activated at that time. But it is largely a pleasurable aspect and nothing to worry about, and Jupiter continues to be in its strength. And as I said, I put a link so that you can see how it affects you. That is it for today. Thank you very much. Do remember to subscribe.